March, April this year that we made the last request. That was way before this audit came through. So, Chair, to answer the question, this is not prompted by the audit, but it's by design that we are supposed to request for authority to utilize this money from the Treasury. And we have been given that authority subject to us providing the internal audit, which has been done, and we have available the internal audit, so we are now in a position to utilize the funds. The second question was the underfunding. The first one was underfunding. I think let me ask the indulgence of the Director of Finance. To me, I think the question was more to do with our lack of capacity to spend, because we were funded and then we didn't utilize much of the money meant for the 2024 fiscal year, because we had a lot of works that were still ongoing. The project was due to close 30th November 2024, and we still had a lot of money that we could not spend. But since the contracts were ongoing, said that was okay, and then we have spent that money as at now. The works have been completed and all the money has been spent. Thank you.
Thank you. The underfunding, is it Director of Finance who's taking up there through the PS?
Thank you, Chair. Like the gentleman has explained, Chair, this project had quite enough money to use and to go up to the completion part for according to the way it was designed. Now, towards the end of the year, the money was still available. So we made a request that the following year we must use that money to finish off the remaining works or rehabilitation that needed to be done, or if any maintenance works needed to be done. So there was enough money. So the question of underfunding does not arise. It doesn't arise. Maybe the question, Chair, could have been framed in another way so that we could provide other answers.
Honorable Mwila, the follow-up question.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Maybe in another way so that we get to understand, because the background to this was that according to the annual work plan and budget for 2024, according to the annual work plan and budget for 2024, a total budget provision of 748,015,827 was made for the implementation of project activities, against which then we come to what was released. So it's understood from this background that the project had activities planned to be implemented in 2024, and the costing of those activities was 748 million. Now the releases was only 407. So that's why I'm asking what could have caused the underfunding. But your submission, PS, is that you actually had enough money. So then is this the question of over-budget? Because if the activities, you are very clear, activity 1, 2, 3, 4, and the costing is 748. But you are funded only 406, and these other income, and then you have all in your basket 490,000, but you are submitting that in fact this was more than enough that you needed. So how was the budgeting done initially to say we need 748,000, and yet you are saying we are comfortable actually with what you had? I submit, Chair.
Thank you. PS, you can proceed.
Thank you, honorable members. Maybe we should put it in this way. This particular project, Chair, had enough money to run it through. Now, the issue that comes in, perhaps the auditors should have explained to say, in that particular financial year, The release of the funding from Ministry of Finance was not according to our plan as IDSP. Okay? The release of the funding was not according to the plan. So the flow of cash, the flow of the funding was erratic. Otherwise the money was there. It was not coming on time. Hence creating this scenario. So the writing should have been specific with the audit to say that.
PS,
Thank you, Chair.
there's a query before us, and we are not or rephrasing what we want your ministry to provide the answers. I do get the. We also get the explanation from your coordinator. And this is not synonymous only to your ministry in terms of issue of funding. It will be sitting in the system, but you don't even have the actual funding. The releases is different. Yeah, so that's what I think Honorable Mwela is laboring to push forward, and also getting an answer. It's one thing to have it in the system, and one thing to have the actual cash to appropriate. I think that's where we're sitting, all of us. And like I said, this is happening in most ministries. So I don't know, Honorable Mwela, are we Lumai?
Mr. Chairman, the submission of the PS, our PS is insinuating that the auditors did not do a good job.
No,
Because-
I've guided.
Yeah, you have guided, Mr. Chairman. You have said we are not re-auditing. So here, before this committee, there's this balance which is unspent. And in the submission by the PS, in the corrective action, her answers are as plain as a white paper. So, Mr. Chairman, maybe to close this issue, the Auditor General may need to clarify on the 29,593, and further also, Mr. Chairman, the coordinator has submitted that they requested for authority around March 2025 if that document can be availed so that we are moving it together.
Thank you, Honorable Lumai. Like I guided the PS, it's one thing to have in the system, and it's one thing to be funded. I think it's according to fiscal space and all that. Maybe I'll ask Auditor General to just clarify on the unspent, I think the one you're talking about, and also the issue of the more or less appropriation in aid, where money is generated, then you ask for authority to spend. Is that right? Yeah. So if that authority is there or attached in an appendix, we can just have a look at it. But Auditor General can proceed and just clarify.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me comment after my officers actually maybe made a comment. Eddie Shabaya, you can just come in.
Thank you very much, Chair. So in terms of the figure which has been recorded as in the paragraph, we are clearly indicating that according to the annual work plan and budget for 2024, and this is information that was given to us during the audit, Chair, the provision was 748 million, but the funding, according to the records that we got, was 406 million. So that is where the underfunding is coming from. And then in terms of the unspent amount of 29 million, again, if we look at how much was funded and how much was spent, it's basically a comparison of the total income that they had and the total expenditure. That is what is bringing up the variance of the 29 million which was unspent at the end of the year. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Lumai, I think you've heard the explanation. PS, that's a straightforward explanation. Yeah, what we're talking about. You had a provision of 748 against with what was released. Notwithstanding that, yes, it was showing there's a 748, but we are given less. So essentially activities suffered, or certain projects suffered because they could not be undertaken. That is according to what you profiled as activities. I think that's the position. Do we have the evidence for authority from either Secretary to Treasury, from the project to utilize funds?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just trying to check with my two colleagues. Wallace is checking. I would request, if you, with your permission, if you could allow my Director of Finance to also say maybe just one or two words.
Director of Finance, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Just to recall the message which was made by the controlling officer in terms of the adequacy of the funds. During the period under review, amounts of 406 million were actually released. These monies actually did manage to support the projects that were being implemented in the year of 2024. However, these projects are actually ongoing, and they actually cross over even to the other year due to the procurement processes. So you find that during that period, this money actually supported those projects. I just wanted to add that. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Budget and expenditure is not much of our issue, because I think the issue is, yes, activities suffered. The budget against what was released is not the same. Then we've got unspent. So, Honorable Miller, what's your point of clarification? Then we proceed.
Chair, ordinarily we would be saying we should ask maybe GRS and World Bank why they did not fund fully. But what is concerning, the variance is quite big, because this 407 is just slightly above 50%. So maybe the committee could further be informed. Was there a change of scope in terms of implementation? Because if me, in my planning, I say I need 748 million, and they give me 406, and I say no, actually I'm okay. It can be two things: either my budgeting was not very accurate, I over budgeted, or I have rescoped my activities, and therefore actually what has been released in my rescoping. Was that the case?
Thank you. Honorable Lumai, you have something? Then
Definitely, Mr. Chairman. Maybe as the PS will be responding to Honorable Muila. Mr. Chairman, it is also important, like you have asked yourself, the committee to be informed about the 29 million unspent, because, Mr. Chairman, this budget allocation was for the whole year. So at what stage was the 29 million not spent? Was it an issue for procurement processes, or what happened? Because here, Mr. Chairman, this project actually was looking for more money, and they were given 406, and now 29 becomes unspent. So what caused this 29 million which was not spent, Mr. Chairman, as also we wait for documentation on authority to use the money?
thank you. PS, you can proceed with those two questions, and then we'll make progress, honorable colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me invite the coordinator to explain. And I would also like to mention that we have one document that speaks to the authority. Perhaps we could pass it through to the chairperson to read. Thank you.
Thank you. The coordinator can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I have to give a bit of a background. The IDSP was due to close in 2024, and then it was given additional responsibility of rehabilitating 10 dams that were initially under the Ministry of Water and Sanitation. So when the projects came to IDSP, we could not move and start implementing immediately. So we had, I must say, inadequate time to rehabilitate these dams. And that's the more reason why the project was extended for a further 1 year, from 30th November 2024 to 31st December 2025 this year. So we could not spend all the money because we started these works late. So much as we had the money, we could not utilize all the money. So we are given space to utilize the money in now this fiscal year. That's why you see that the money was not spent in 2024. It's now being spent in 2025. And all this money has been spent. And what has been reflected is as under expenditure or under funding. We are receiving that budget now this year. The Ministry of Finance is funding us this year to finish off the works. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. The authority is here. We can just run it through the Auditor General, and then we make. So, honorable colleagues, we can proceed. In answer to the next item, which is failure to recover funds, contract for supply and installation of center pivots. Honorable Mike can proceed, followed by Honorable Mwila.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as I ask the question on failure to recover funds, I've read, Mr. Chairman, the purported evidence to request for authority. Mr. Chairman, you have read it. It is the request to retain and use revenue. Mr. Chairman, I want the PS to run committee through why this contractor was paid in full, and also we have gone through your submission as controlling officer. We are not sure whether you had physical meetings regarding this encroachment, because, Mr. Chairman, the money paid and the works done, they are not matching, so the PS may need to help this committee understand why the money was paid in full and why they have not told this committee as to whether they had physical meetings with these settlers, the encroachers on this land. I submit, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Mwila.
Further, Chair, I think the committee would like to find out what is the position of the ministry. Is it to push the contractor to go and complete the works on the different site that has been advised, or the push is to recover the money? Because I think I've seen both positions with some correspondences seeking the Attorney General to recover, but then there is also this Kasisi land that has been given where the center pivots could be installed. What is the position of the ministry?
Thank you, honorable colleagues. PS and your team. If we look at this Green 2000, I think from a just general perspective, Green 2000, Amiran, these are reputable organizations and companies which have done business with government. Maybe put us to speed what really transpired on this aforesaid matter concerning this Vuchete Kelo police farm for this contract sum of $694,000. What really transpired? Then you tell us what transpired. Then I think now my honorable colleagues' questions now comes in. What is the position? What is it that you want to achieve as a government? And as a supplier refused to install, don't they have the center pivots? What is the position? You can proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to bring the committee back to what we have submitted. In our submission, Chair, as you can see, the story of this particular contractor dates back as far as 2015. It moves, and then at a certain point in 2022, there was an engagement of Attorney General to see how best he could issue demand notices, because the contractor was being slow or was not showing activeness in terms of providing the service they were contracted for. Further on, I realized in 2023, early, there was also an engagement by the then colleague PS to find out as to whether there was any traction on the same matter as regards the request that was done to AG to see if the contractor could be maybe shaken or was showing any progress in terms of working on this same activity. But along the way, we noticed that there were people that encroached on the land where the contractor needed to move on site. Chair, not to just cut the long story short, I would perhaps say, wearing the shoes of a contractor, he probably could not go and demolish or chase the settlers, the squatters on that land, because then it would create another case. So he probably also was waiting for government to push the squatters or the encroachers to move out. So it was a process which went back and forth from what I am seeing. Yes, it's rather unfortunate that it took this direction, but as Minister of Agriculture, we are of the view that if there was a way that the contractor would come back and just do the work according to the payments that were done then at that particular time, I think that would be the best way to end this, because like we have all seen and known that these are companies, these are very reputable companies or organizations. It's something that I feel that, Chair, we probably could revisit the whole issue. It will be difficult for me to give detailed information, as this whole matter dates way back, as far back as 2015, and I mean, information, you need to be privy to it, and then you are able to discuss it thoroughly because you have all the information. But with the time lapse and the change of officers in the ministry and so forth, certain files are very difficult to trace in the archives. So the auditors have brought this out. In my view, it should have even come much earlier, maybe 2021, 2022, and maybe then before other officers who were clearly or directly involved with these contractors were going to give us the clear information on what exactly transpired. But where you are told this is what happened, you will base your speaking on what you have just collected from an officer who is also just sitting in that office now. So I do not want to delve so much into this, Chair. I beg to be pardoned. I would rather sit with AG and see the way forward on this matter, given chance to do that. I submit, Chair. Thank you.
PS, government is perpetual succession. We do agree. I think for us, what is important as a committee is there was an aforesaid contract. Okay? And we have these things emanating. Maybe my question perhaps would be, have you engaged the supplier to sit down and amicably find a way forward? Because from your submission, the supplier has not refused to supply. Maybe we are laboring the suppliers, even got the aforesaid center pivots. But it's like you are doing a construction as government. You take the supplier to hand over site to them. Okay? Now if the site you want to hand over is encroached, the supplier won't go alone and say move out of site, like you said. It's us to hand over the site. So perhaps the question is, have you tried to engage the supplier and find out the status before we proceed? Because we've seen this supplier in other in other ministries doing the same work, and perhaps and the works have gone well. So maybe has the supplier been engaged? I think that's what we want to understand. If I have not been engaged, then we'll have a position, and we also want to know, like Honorable Lumai asked, I think, or Honorable Mwila, do we want just to get a refund, or do we want to proceed with the project as government? Because time is moving. We're talking from 2015 up to now, and there's escalation of cost PS which are aware of. The time we'll get back, we tell you, okay, yes, the center pivot when I bought was this much. Can we do a variation? This contract now will be $1.2 million. It's up to you, because it's not my fault. Perhaps you didn't give me the site. So those are just, we are just also trying to think how the supplier would think, because looking at the time lapse. Maybe you can just tell us what is the position of government. If not, we'll still hear you.
Thank you, Chair. Government position is that I would like these center pivots installed. And just to inform you that the contractor has stated that he's more than willing to get back on site and do the work, because they already had procured the center pivots. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Chris, any further question? So I think PS, what is important is to engage, because you have not engaged. We haven't seen any documentation, back and forth, letters written, can we sit down, how do we move forward? I think it's important to engage, and would want to have feedback when engagement is done, what is the way forward. Progress, colleagues? On progress? Not on this one, progress. Honorable Lungu, progress. Let's proceed. Honorable Mwila, yes, can proceed.
Chair, on the failure to collect water user fees. So we have a list of the outstanding water user fees, Zambia Correctional Service, National Service, and the list goes on. I've seen the evidence according to the responses that in fact the Zambia Correctional Service have actually paid 1.5 million, but they after a delay. And I've seen the correspondence that you have put on Appendix 4, so I want just further explanation what they meant. Of course they've paid, but they were attributing the delay to I'm reading the correspondence from the Commissioner General on Appendix 4, which they are saying that we are committed to settling the outstanding fees as soon as the Attorney General endorses the abstraction agreement. So it appears that the Attorney General took long to endorse this abstraction agreement, and they finally paid anyway, but Zambia National Service is still owing. Are they also attributing to this abstraction agreement? And what is this abstraction agreement? So we understand how it links with them paying the water user fees. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. PS, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair.
Proceed on the user fees. I think that's what the honorable member is asking.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of failure to collect water user fees, and what the honorable member has brought out to say, look, Zambia Correctional Service at least made a payment. And then the other two, that is Zambia National Service and Chomeno Investments, have not shown any commitment. I would like to mention to you, honorable members, that we have been in constant touch and engagement with these two companies that I'll call them companies, ZNS of course and Chomeno Investments. We've been in touch, we've engaged them, we've had discussions with them trying to inquire why is it taking long for them to honor their agreements. Well, a few things have been brought out on the part of ZNS. Chomeno Investments has also brought out their issues that relate to these payments, and we've had quite several meetings that we've held to see how we can resolve the issues that relate to this. One of the meetings we held was held and chaired at Cabinet Office to see how we could resolve issues surrounding the failure to pay these water fees. And I would like to state that at least they were told to honor what they're supposed to settle. And like you know, ZNS and ourselves are one government, so we've had discussions where we are trying to see how we can resolve the payment, to try and settle the payment. But with Chomeno, we are still trying to see or to understand why they keep delaying, because definitely it affects the other tiers. Their non-payment affects the other tiers on this whole project. So we are quite concerned. We are not just sitting back. My Director Agriculture and a few other colleagues have tried to push hard, honorable members. I cannot just say exactly what is in the discussion, but I can just reassure you that we are very serious about it, and for us to take it to Cabinet Office to see how best they can support what we want done, how we want to collect the money, how eager we are to see that these people honor what is due to these projects, or what is due to Ministry of Agriculture, means that we are serious in the whole thing. I submit, Chair.
Honorable Miller, follow-up question.
Yes, so what is this abstraction agreement? Was it just applicable to correctional service, or it's also applicable to these others?
Thank you. PS, you can proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Perhaps let me at this point invite my Director Agriculture to explain a little bit how this Momboshi project works. And then I will also invite the coordinator, IDSP, because they are the ones that put up the dam. They are directly responsible, because the design of that project is purely their brainchild, and they are able to explain how these tiers work and how people are supposed to remit the monies. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director Agric. Maybe we can take a seat.
Thank you, Chair. I can speak from here.
No. We can take a seat where there's Mr. Mulomba there. He has volunteered. Is this not the same dam we visited as a park? The one we visited, is that Momboshi in No, we went to the one in Mfurila, Musakashi. We went to Musakashi, not Mombo. Yes, we're with Director can proceed and just run us to speed.
Yes, thank you so much, Chair. As already explained by the officers before me, the issues dealing with the Zambia National Service, Zambia Correctional Service, and Chomeno Investments. With Chomeno Investment, maybe there could be a slight complication, but with the ZNS, as PS already mentioned, is a government institution, and since you have already started engaging the Secretary to the Treasury, it is even possible, as we are negotiating, maybe the money can be knocked from the source there. So that is quite easy, because that's a government institution. So these are three different institutions. As already mentioned, Zambia Correctional Service, they've already made some payments, and even Zambia National Service assuring us that they will make these payments, because we need this money as quickly as possible, so that the small-scale farmers within those areas can manage to get the funds for them to access the inputs, so that we can increase productivity in those areas. So that's the same situation at Momboshi Irrigation Scheme as well as Msakashi Irrigation in Mufurira. I submit, Chair. Maybe the coordinator can add something if I've left out anything.
Thank you. The project coordinator, any addition?
Thank you, Chair. I think my addition will be on the abstraction agreements. The schemes that have been developed, the water permits are held by the project, and all the users, they sign abstraction agreements. So we have got the small-scale farmers, then the Tier 3, which is ZNS and Zambia Correctional Service, and we have got Tier 4, who are the existing commercial farmers at Momboshi. We have signed abstraction agreements with them, and the Tier 4 farmers are paying. And that's the money that we are talking about, that we're asking for authority to use that money to maintain the scheme. Design is that all these water fees, when they come in, we maintain the pipelines, we replace the pumps when it's due, and so on. So we have abstraction agreements with all the users. The water permits are held by the project. I submit, Chair.
Thank you for your submission. Honorable colleagues, any further question on the aforesaid? Thank you. I think the Momboshi Msakashi, I think the way it works is more or less the same. If I remember from your explanation last time we had visited that project in Mufurira. Okay, we proceed. Let's go to 32, honorable colleagues. That was 34, which is the Minister of Agriculture. We're going to do 30 minutes. We'll break off at 1. Just 32 minutes. So let's proceed. Honorable Lumai. Budget funding and expenditure. So PS, on your budget funding expenditure for 889, honorable colleagues, is what we are, where we are now. Yes, Honorable Miller can proceed.
Thank you. Controlling Officer, on the budget funding and expenditure, you have responded that unpaid transactions submitted to Treasury amounting to 681. So I seek your clarification, because this is the money that is that remained unspent. So are you confirming to the committee that in fact all the unpaid transactions amounted to this 681 million kwacha? I submit, sir.
Thank you. PS, where's your director, HRI? Oh, okay. Yeah, there. Okay. Okay, no. We know them. We couldn't just... there's that question. Why I'm asking for Director HRI, predominantly of the issues after budget funding and your expenditure, it's payroll-related issues. So payroll-related issues, honorable colleagues, will compound them. and just ask them to give us a submission on that. So PS, you can proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Just to give a little bit of what transpired on this particular one, the 681, this is an amount accrued at the end of the year. The month of, I think November, December, there were a release of payments that needed to be done, and the Ministry of Finance did not honor those payments. But we were told that come crossover the following year, they would honor the payments. And I think Director Finance should be able to maybe add on to what I have said, but vividly, these are some where you issue out to finance to release the monies, and Ministry of Finance does not release the money. Then you cross over and they put it there and say, look, we will clear this in due course. So this is what it amounted to. Yes. So these were payments that were supposed to be done, but they were not honored. So if there's anything more than that, the Director of Finance should be able to explain further. Thank you, Chair.
Director of Finance, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, PS. The unspent fund was actually 681,452,000. This is broken as follows. There was 141,153,793. These submissions were actually open items which were sent to the Treasury for payment, but the Treasury did not honor to pay these payments, so they remained unpaid. Of course, we did also write to the Treasury on this, where they guided to say that this debt will be transferred to Head 91. However, there was also Head 21 at the Ministry of Finance. Yes. And then there was also a balance of 430. These were actually the balance that remained unspent, apart from the 141 million. So regarding this, we wrote to the Treasury to seek authority to return, because much of this money was relating to the FISIP payment. And as you look at the budget of FISIP, normally we don't finish paying in that particular year. It normally goes to the other year. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Let's make progress. Payroll related issues, honorable colleagues. We have irregular introduction of employees on payroll data headquarters. We have misplacement on payroll area, irregular payment of housing allowance 883,445 Lusaka Paco, failure to fill in key vacant positions, unclaimed rejected salaries 34,424, irregular payment of salaries to positions on integration default position, failure to recover funds from charged employee Rwansha Dako 45,000. That is the last item on payroll related issues. Through UPS to your Director HR, I think we've emphasized through this committee that 50+% of our budget is payroll related, and it's important that we clean the, and suffice to say that the Office of the Auditor General did a payroll audit, and we emphasize in our recommendation to various ministries that payroll related matters should be cleaned in the system, and ensure that if the people are sitting on different positions are harmonized, issues of these allowances are looked at to ensure that the payroll is clean and adequate, as it were. So I don't know why we are still having these issues in the Ministry of Agriculture of payroll related matters. After that strong recommendation, and we would want to hear from your Director HR what is happening, because some of these responses I think are not sitting well. These are purely things which are administrative, which can be done. They shouldn't even be escalated to the Auditor General's report. They are payroll related. Failure to fill in vacant positions. How? So PS, you can proceed and through PS Director HR, you can tell us what is the problem.
Thank you, Chair. I will invite the Director HR to speak.
So Director HR, the guidance is item by item. We want you to make submission. I think I've run you through the way the items are. If not, let me repeat myself. Irregular introduction of employees on payroll headquarters. You have misplacement of payroll area, irregular payment of housing allowance, 83,445 Lusaka Paco, failure to fill in key positions, unclaimed rejected salaries, 37,427 Paco, irregular payment of salaries to positions on integration default positions, 171,196, and failure to recover funds from charged employee Rwansha Daco 45,000. Those are the issues I want you to address. You can proceed.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you, honorable members. Thank you, PS. Chair and honorable members, we admit that there are these irregularities as a ministry. However, I'd want to state on one or two issues. Chair, the irregular introduction on the payroll, the delays really were administrative processes, as we have stated, and mostly they are related to interministerial coordination. We have instances, Chair, where an officer is transferred from another ministry and they are in a chain. There are about 15 or so officers transferred at the same time. For the officers to be moved to their respective payrolls, all the 15 have to be done at once, Chair, and it is done centrally through PEMIG. Chair, on the misplacement of payroll areas, we found ourselves in situations where officers are required in certain stations, and in the process, Chair, administrative transfers are done as we process through PSMD, and in the waiting process to have directives, Chair, because without directives we cannot move those officers to sit on those payrolls. Hence, we find that some officers are misplaced. The other why officers are misplaced, Chair, is that certain stations, especially the newly created districts, have what their structures, but they do not have, to the date, some do not have treasury authority for us to fill in those positions. Since 2023, the last treasury authority to the ministry was granted in 2023. 2024, we requested for treasury authority, as the letter attached in the appendices. We are not granted to unfreeze positions which were frozen in the past. However, 2025, we requested for treasury authority, and the letter is dated 26th November. We received treasury authority to fill in some positions which were frozen. Chair, as a ministry, we are earnestly working to ensure that we fill in those positions which were not filled and were frozen in the on irregular payment of housing allowance, Chair, there was a delay in effecting recoveries due to pending verification. We found ourselves in situations where we have effected recoveries and we found officers have moved or are occupying houses which have been rendered not to be fit, and the officers are renovating those houses on their own. We've been told that those houses, officers are not supposed to pay rent, or they are supposed to be given housing allowance. So the verification process, Chair, is what we have committed as a ministry to escalate and ensure that we have adequate information to effect the recoveries. To prevent the recurrence, Chair, on the housing allowance, we have established a routine verification and update process for housing returns to ensure that they are current and accurate. Chair, as a ministry, we have also ensured that regular internal audits and reconciliations to detect and correct discrepancies are done promptly. Further, we're going to ensure that our executive officers, Chair, are trained and understand the importance of timely updates of the compliance with housing allowance policies. On unclaimed rejected salaries, Chair, it is regrettable. However, Chair, we find ourselves where new employees, when they report, they submit wrong account numbers. And this money goes into the suspense accounts. As a new employee, we found that it will take maybe a couple of months for them to come and claim that they have not been paid the salaries, because we do not receive that report from PEMIC that these salaries have bounced until an employee comes forward that haven't received their salary. That's when we inquire from PEMIC. Chair, on irregular payment of salaries on default positions, this is an oversight on our officers who are payroll end users, as they move officers into this payroll, or as they move them on transfer to other positions. We found ourselves that officers have not paid attention to move the officers who have been put on default positions to their correct positions. I think the sixth one, failure to recover funds from charged employees. Yes. I think the fifth one, Chair, was the last for HR. The failure to recover funds is about a motorbike. I submit, Chair.
PS, we are wondering what mitigation measures you put in place, I think through your director HR, because this would be a second time we are making recommendations on payroll, and I think it's not in the interest of this committee to same recommendations as it were, which we did, and why did it take the auditors for the ministry to start effecting recoveries, to start effecting what, and now evidence is provided, because these things, PS, should be done seamless, like your director is submitting. You have, I don't know how many chief human resource, executive officers and all that, and we want to understand, PS, what measures you are going to put in place to ensure that these anomalies are mitigated, and moving forward, that your pay as a Minister of Agriculture is cleaned up. Honorable Lumai.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In addition to your submission, Mr. Chairman, Director HR, Minister of Agriculture, on query number 1, the query is on 2 officers, which is on page 2. I've taken note of your response and your submissions on appendix number 2. You have provided information for Kathleen Sachio. You have not provided information on the police officer. Then, Mr. Chairman, on misplacement of payroll area, Mr. Chairman, appendix number 4, we have been given 6 retirements and 11 transfers, and the query 85 officers. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd want Director HR to try and attempt to respond to this question regarding the 85 officers, because in the appendix, I've gone through it, they have given us documentation for 6 officers who are about to retire and only 11 transfers. So maybe you can shed more light on the 2 officers, their documentation, and on 85 officers on misplaced payroll area. I submit to Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. PS, Director HR, you can proceed through your PS.
Thank you so much, Chair and honorable members. Chair, as I stated, we've deliberately put up measures that quarterly our end users, with the help from PEMIC, will review the payroll and work on these misplacements, officers receiving housing allowance and irregular payments. Chair, I want to state that in the third quarter, as a ministry, we start to correct the sub-areas. Before I answer Honorable Mai's question, we start with PEMIC to correct the sub-areas. That's where we discovered that the police officer was put on our sub-area as means of agriculture. Chair, the auditors questioned and asked why this police officer is sitting on our payroll. Unfortunately, Chair, when we requested for information from PEMIC, it shows that the super end users could not give us an explanation how a police officer was found on our payroll. Chair, the payslips attached are a sample responding to Honorable Umai, but the bulky number of the 85 payslips are available, Chair. Secondly, Chair, I would want to state that most of this misplacement have arisen due to non-availability of Treasury Authority in the ministry. We are all aware that other ministries have been given Treasury Authorities of over 1,500, 3,000. As the current Treasury Authority, we have been partly given 200. So we usually try to spread it to other institutions or other districts which have no officers. And when there's need in these areas for service, we are tempted, unfortunately, to give them staff. Hence, we find ourselves in this area of misplacement. Chair, I submit.
Honorable Umai, can proceed.
Mr. Chairman, I've taken note the Director Human Resource in the Ministry is attempting to respond. Director, page 3, 85 officers drew salaries. So these drew salaries on pay point C that were different from their physical stations. So my question was, in responding to this query, you have submitted documentation. 6 of the documents which you have submitted as evidence, it says the 6 were retired, and then the 11 were transfers. So the query is about officers getting money from stations where they are not. So I thought in your response you should have said these officers are this side, these officers are this side, because if you have submitted documentation for people who have retired and also documentations for people who have been transferred, then you are not responding to the query. So we understand that you are trying to do something, and as guided by the chairman, that as a committee we do not expect to discuss issues of misplacement of payroll areas, because you have necessary tools to control such anomalies. So my simple question is, from 85 officers, what we have submitted is a 6 retirement. So if someone has retired, meaning he will stop getting a salary, isn't it? So 11 are transfers and the query is on 85. So we are submitting that, what you have submitted are just samples and you have got other documentation. So if that is your take, then my next question to Mr. Chairman will be, why were these documents not submitted before the auditors at the time of audit? I submit, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Director HR, through the PS, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. It is unfortunate that we were not able to submit the documents at the time of audit, Chair. The time the information was requested, the payrolls were running and the management letter was already issued. Chair, that's why after that we went ahead and requested for this documentation to PEMIC. And Chair, we are ready to submit all the pay slips for the difference, which is 17 from 85. We'll be able to submit all the pay slips. And we have made a serious attempt to move these officers to where they are offering their services. Chair, further, we closely working with the Department of Internal Audit to resolve most of these matters. I submit.
I still haven't heard the mitigation measures clearly, PS. I think moving forward what you want to do as a ministry, and we want that to come out clearly, if not today because we're about to adjourn, but we want that to come out clearly because we want to hold you to your word. Why I'm saying so, PS, we don't want the business as usual. Today we recommend, again we come recommend. That's why I think in my closing remarks I'll ask you, PS, to come ST in terms of funding issues. I think that's what we've done to most of your colleagues, so that we come and, because we cannot also have funding which comes a day before or the actual day when we are closing the financial year. That is one of those issues of funding. We want also to come and discuss together with the Secretary to Treasury and then agree on the position. But suffice to say that I think we have not take that into consideration, that we would want you to, as we come to continue tomorrow, to make a submission on how you need to mitigate these payroll related issues moving forward. And we've tackled the issue of the irrigation issue. I think you need also to go back and mitigate with your supplier. That one is so that we know the way forward. I think the rest of the things we are continuing tomorrow, and we'll end here for now on paragraph 32. Then colleagues will continue on procurement of goods and services tomorrow as we meet. I know we've got Parliament in the afternoon. So PS and your team would like to thank you for your submission before this honorable committee today, and we'll continue questioning paragraph 32 and 33 tomorrow, so that we hope we can wind up as it were. So we're very, very grateful for your submission together with your team. Let me take this opportunity, PS, to lift immunity conferred before you, that now you are very free to go. Whatever you speak outside, you are on your own.